Welcome to another edition of Club Geneva. I'm your host, Shay. I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. It's different things that I'm exploring with this show. And one thing that I'm trying to explore is perspectives. I really like perspectives. Over the past couple of shows where I've had guests, I think we've got into some really cool conversations. We've been able to talk about some of our emotions and our feelings about things and do it in a safe space where everyone feels as though they can say what they want to say without being canceled for saying it. I get the opportunity to kind of put a little knife in cancel culture. I feel like that's not something that's good. Even if the person says something that you don't like, I don't think canceling them is going to fix anything. So, one of the biggest things right now, I can see the fact that since Donald Trump has been in office, he has taken away a lot of some of those things that were pretty steadfast and you knew that would be there, such as like the DEI initiatives. This is just sweeping proposals. I think it's something that we all need to talk about. Regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump or not, he is the president right now. And as soon as he got into office, I think they said 167 new laws were adopted. I think as soon as he touched the desk, he pulled out a pen and started signing papers. And that was pretty remarkable to see. I wish that the Democrats would sometimes take a page from that book. The Republicans are definitely tearing it up. Hands down, this has been their last couple of years where they have really put up the big fight and they've won. The Supreme Court is decked out with Republicans. The Senate, Congress. Where do you go as a Democrat? It's not going up, I'll tell you that. So anyway, DEI. This ban on DEI, I think it's a sweeping thing. It's not just actually DEI. It's other civil rights justice reforms that he's taken away. So this is something that he wanted to hit hard. And the people who are running these DEI factories per se, where, they're making a living off of it, they are doing these different roles within communities and within different organizations. That's all kind of coming to a close right now. And I can only imagine what a person would be feeling knowing that over the past 8+ years, maybe even more, you've built your whole life around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then with the president, the incoming president, all of a sudden, bam, you don't have a job anymore. That would just blow my mind. I just don't know how to rationalize that. Even if that's something that I wanted to take off the table if I was president, I still would not do it in such sweeping fashions. But, history goes to the bold. On one end, it doesn't serve me well to some degree, especially being an African-American man. On the other hand, it's something that it is admirable to see somebody actually come in office and do exactly what they say they're going to do. And I think that's the astonishing part. Okay, so let's talk about some of this DEI stuff that the president is doing, okay? It says that from federal agencies to stakeholders, all these special trained people are falling under this executive order from Trump to stop diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. This is sweeping across the board. This is in every state. All of the Republican governors of each state are putting in these sweeping changes just like Trump did within the White House in Washington. I think what he wanted to do was actually change the narrative from diversity, equity, and inclusion to merit-based opportunities, which, one can argue that where's the merit at with most Republicans right now, right? They're being just picked up by Trump just because he likes them, not because of their merit, just quite simply because he likes who they are. And they don't even have to have certain qualifications. So I don't know where merit is anywhere better than what diversity, equity, inclusion was offering all Americans. You got to remember sometimes in this country, we think it's just all about white people and black people and our quarrels. It's just not about us. It's about people who are disabled. It's about veterans. It's about women who are pregnant. It's about the LGBTQ community. It may seem like this DEI measure is only going to affect us. No, it's actually going to affect a lot of different groups of people if you think about it. And what does that mean? That means that, hey, next ballot, when you do get the opportunity to maybe figure out if you want Trump or a Republican in office, then you'll think about these things. Why? Because this stuff is going to directly affect your life, like right now. When you go to fill out a job application and you go for an interview, some of those forces that were at play behind the scenes, some of those things that those people who were interviewing you had on their mind was diversity, equity, and inclusion, was the fact that you had to be treated fairly, was the fact that they had to have a certain number of qualified minority applicants in these roles and positions. That's out the door now. That is totally out the door from what I understand. If it's not, let me know in the comments. So now you're going to deal with these instances where even if you are not picked for a position because of something that you can even call racism or stereotyping or any of those things, it's really not going to make a difference because the power is back 100% in the employer's hand. And on that note, I mean, it's a lot of these companies who have taken the opportunity to bite the bullet here and say, we don't want DEI in our organizations as well. And I know there are other forces at play. I'm not saying that these different companies just do not appreciate the things that diversity, equity, inclusion has brought to the landscapes of their companies. Of course, the stakeholders are saying, hey, we need to get on the bandwagon here, because if we don't want to be one of the last companies holding out saying that we are still supporting diversity, equity, inclusion, and then we actually lose dollars and support and lose stakeholders and actually, end up doing something that would take away from our bottom line. It's not just companies not wanting to be a part of the DEI programs. It's actually them being forced out of it, because when you have contracts with the government, a lot of these different companies, so I hear from different news outlets and different media sources, most of these companies that have walked away have government contracts. They sell certain products that the government uses. But with our capitalist society that we have, they're kind of being forced into walking away from DEI. So that's important to know. Even before Trump put out these sweeping measures, that companies were always in this tug of war with DEI. It's been very tough for companies to push these ideals and concepts onto their stakeholders. And I think we know why. A lot of people are not sympathizers with the thought process behind DEI. So I want to talk about some of those things that actually make those companies pull back DEI alongside of what the president has done as well. And one of the biggest things is economic concerns. The economic concerns are this. By focusing primarily on DEI and taking on this huge cultural shift within your company, sometimes that blowback can result in loss of profits and wages. And that's what all corporations are merged around, is profits, right? Is gaining. That's how they keep the doors open and the lights on. So I can see where companies would want to walk away from DEI because of that, or at least limit its exposure within the company. I've seen organizations that have totally let DEI just take over everything. I mean, countless hours being dedicated towards DEI is profit margins slimming. So I can understand that point of view. And of course, political pressure is a really big thing too. When you work in a certain industry, you actually are very closely connected with the government. I can see where the political pressure, say for instance, if it's a certain industry and you have a certain party where that party is not in favor of DEI measures, would ask you to pull those back. And then of course we have internal company pushback. And within every company, we have groups and different sectors within organizations where you can get a lot of pushback. You can get people who leave the company. So internal backlash is a huge problem when it came to DEI. But let's talk about some of those organizations. So just in a nutshell, I'm just going to run over these. So of course you got the economic concerns, you have the political pressures, you have the cultural backlash, and then the internal company pushback. And those are some of the reasons why DEI is not very likable in some sectors. even before Trump did these sweeping changes. So that's important. So there have been several companies that have pulled away from DEI for reasons that I think we all know. When you have a political party that is actually going against DEI as a political point, and that's something that they actually got into office with, pushing that point, it's going to be very tough for you to embrace DEI. So I do understand why these companies pulled away. It wasn't that they didn't want African Americans and minorities to have opportunities within organizations, and not to say that they still won't. DEI is just a title. It depends on the actions of an organization or a company, whether or not they are diverse and equitable and inclusive. So that's important to understand. The thing is, you have to sympathize a little bit with these organizations, because when you are in competition with other companies, it's very tough for you to keep something when you have a whole political system, a whole sector of politics that's against what you're doing, and you're going to have to lobby with these people. There's going to be rules and regulations that come out. There could be contracts lost. There could be a number of things that could affect your company or your organization. So it would be, as it stands right now, it would be within the best choices of an organization or a company to pull away. It's more of a health related issue when it comes to a business right now, whether you remain with DEI or you don't. Costco is towing the line right now, where they don't want to give up their DEI efforts, but at the same time, they've got stakeholders who are, people who are important, are asking them to look at DEI and see what they can slim down and see how, they can save face and maybe keep DEI, or, drop it. But at the bottom line, they don't want to give up the shares. They don't want to give up the money. So that's what we're talking about. So, of course, you got Twitter, or X, right, that totally scrapped DEI a while ago. I think he scrapped it. Elon scrapped it even before Trump even came into office. I want to say he scrapped DEI about a year ago. But you guys can let me know in the comment box. And then Meta, which that's going to be a shocker to people, because old Mark Zuckerberg seemed like, he was not so much a big fan of Trump or the Republicans per se. But, of course, power and influence rule the day. He didn't want to miss out on opportunities that Elon and Jeff Bezos and these other billionaires were going to take part on. So, of course, he ends up dropping his DEI policies and systems. That's not a big shocker there. Are you going to get off Facebook now? I don't know. That's something to think about, whether you want to go to Facebook. But along those other lines, let's see what else we got. Disney has walked away. It says that Disney faced significant political pressure regarding DEI. Public spats would, of course, run the sanctimonious. That's funny to me. He wanted to shut down the whole district that they had and actually take it over. So Disney actually crumbled under DEI, and they were running LGBTQ ads and different things of that nature, trying to support minorities and shed awareness on different racial disparities. And nope, they had to walk away from it as well. And I want to say that they walked away from it a while ago. Let's see what it says here. Okay, and it actually stemmed from, on the LGBTQ side of things, it stemmed from Florida's Don't Say Gay law, which I didn't know that was a law, but you can look that up. I'll try to put some type of link in the comment box or something, but there's a Don't Say Gay law in Florida. I'm not the political person. I like to read up on certain things, but it's so much going on, I can't hold on to everything. But there's a law in Florida, Don't Say Gay. Just letting you know that. All right. So, of course, along the tech lines, Hewlett-Packard walked away. It says that HP made cuts to DEI-related roles and reassessed its initiatives after a change in leadership. So there you go. That wasn't even Trump. That's just a change in leadership. That's that cultural shift right there, where someone comes in and they're not a sympathizer of DEI and they just got it out the way. American Airlines, you still want to fly with them? Let me know. Put it in the comment box. It says, while American Airlines is not completely pulled away, it's faced scrutiny and backlash and around its racism awareness. So they pulled away. Critics and conservative groups, including political pressure in certain states, has caused them to reevaluate what DEI means to their organization and to their company. Netflix. Netflix, that's another one. Netflix has leadership changes, and they've had pressure to balance cultural goals with business imperatives, so they decided to pull away. Yours truly, ladies, Bumble. I think that is a dating site. You won't be able to date outside your. No, I'm just kidding. You'll be able to date other people of different races, but from an organizational standpoint, they pulled away from DEI for the same reasons and purposes that I just expressed. Salesforce, that's another one. Kroger's, Walgreens, Oracle, JP Morgan Chase, and the list goes on and on and on, but it's important to note that it won't stop at this point for at least the next 4 years. So if you're hoping for some type of changes or pullback, from DEI, whether DEI will make its way back, you just won't get that anymore. I'm sorry. The next 4 years is going to be tough on you if you were totally focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now let's talk about some other things that Trump pulled away from, I won't say minorities, let's just say from anyone who's in need of equality. How about that? Anyone who is in need of some type of equality. You could be a one-legged man trying to work at a job, and you might not get the job because of these sweeping changes. Because people can now say, we're not even going to consider him because we know he'll be slower. We know that he'll be slower. See, now you can take all those bias that you have. You can take all those stereotypes that you have, and you can take all those bias, and you can actually put action into them. And that action will be, we're good. We don't need you. We don't think that you're equipped to do the job. We don't think that you're capable to do the job. We don't think that you have the mental capacity to do the job. And it would be primarily based on your skin color, or whether you are disabled, or maybe you're a woman, or maybe you're pregnant, all of those things. So that's important to understand that now with this meritocratic society, this shift change, now it's going to be about merit. And the people who are applying the merit are the people who we needed diversity, equity, and inclusion for to begin with. And that's white men, older white men, older Republican, far right white males. There you go. That's going to suck. I'm just being honest. Because we all know that merit has never really applied in this country. From the beginning of its inception, it hasn't applied. But that's okay. I think that honestly, you'll be okay if you don't focus on it. If you don't make it, if you don't let things rule the day, then you can make the best out of your day, and you can make proper choices that will help your family out. There are other organizations, there are other companies, there are other places that actually will embrace diversity, equity, inclusion. And of course, they might not openly say it. You might not see the banners, you might not see the cool advertisements, but they are still going to walk that line of equality. There will always be organizations and companies like that. So don't let this get you down. Okay, so another big deal along the lines of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Trump has also taken back civil rights initiatives as well. One more importantly that was put in place by Lyndon B. Johnson back in 1965, and that is the Equal Opportunities Act. So not only has Trump rescinded a lot of the DEI initiatives, he's also taken a target up with the Equal Employment Opportunities Rule that has been in place since Lyndon B. Johnson signed it in 1968. And if you think about that, that's not just a black people thing. That's a sweeping thing across the board. Equal employment opportunities touches mostly all of us, even some white men. It's not like it's these groups of like white men out there who are just, you know, making it every day. There are struggling white men who might lose jobs and opportunities because of these rule changes and initiatives. So it says, according to the rules and federal contractors who today employ 3.7 million people, you can't discriminate against job applicants or workers based off of their gender, sex, or their characteristics. And that's now not even a thing anymore, just like that. He signed it. Well, that's a bad snap. It's cold in here. I can't snap when it's cold. But there you go. That's off the table as well. What do you think about that out there? I want to hear your comments. I want to hear what you think about it. I want to hear if this is going to affect your life. And if so, let me know. And on the other side, I want to hear, what do you think about it? If you think that this meritocratic rule changes are going to be effective, tell me why, but then tell me how this is going to help minorities out. How about that? So don't only just tell us, that you think it's a good thing. I want to hear why you think that this is a good thing. I think that's important to keep this going. All you have to do is put in the comment box. I promise you I'll respond, and I will respect your opinions on it. So it's not like I'm going to, be mean-spirited towards you, because at the end of the day, Trump is president. He's a Republican. Republicans aren't all white people. As we can see with the vote, right? We have all different people from all walks of life who voted for Trump to be in office. So I don't think that's fair to always look at it in a way like it's just white people who don't side with certain things, or white men. So please put your comments in the box. I would love to hear them, but I'm just going to keep going on this. Okay, so this was a 60-year-old rule that grew right out of the civil rights movement. I mean, Martin Luther King, this was something that he was pushing for. Important to note that the inauguration was on Martin Luther King's birthday as well. I thought that was pretty slight-handed, but it could have just been, the only time to do it, of course. There's only like 4 more days left. And it was only like, 16 more days before that. Before that happened. So, who knows, right? Let's not be like that. Let's just keep it. But let's see here. So what the Equal Employment Opportunities Act, it put measures in place that prohibited, I hate saying that word, but that prohibited discrimination, bias, stereotyping, and all those different elements that can, lead to minorities not receiving promotions, being terminated unjustly, not receiving the same pay, not receiving the same benefits. It's really going to take people away from some great opportunities because those people who do have those bias, they'll be able to make those decisions and make them comfortably now. So, all right. So with the equal employment rule, it was there to stop discrimination against a person's race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and national origin. All of those. So I don't know what that means now. I guess I would like, if you feel like this is going to affect you in a negative way, let me know. I love to hear it. I love to have a conversation with you about this. Let's talk about how Trump feels about DEI. And why he feels that he needed to repeal DEI and equal employment opportunities rules. The biggest thing is that he wrote that he said that because of DEI, it led to illegal, pernicious discrimination that has prioritized how people were born instead of what they were capable of doing. Right? That's his defense about why he pulled it away. But let's look into that. Prioritizing how people were born. Okay? Most people who were born affluent have more opportunities than people who were not. And they have more opportunities within organizations, which means that people who were not born affluent don't have those opportunities within those same organizations, not because of anything more than the fact that they don't have the connections. And connections and networking, they don't have much to do with merit. I think we see that in politics across the aisle. It has nothing to do with merit. It has something to do with just who you're friends with, who is going to benefit you. And it has a lot to do with how you grew up, who you were raised around, what's your religious beliefs, what's your bias, what's your stereotypes. So merit has nothing to do with hiring anyway to begin with. But diversity, equity, and inclusion was there to actually be a force, a driver, so that people who went after jobs could kind of not have to encounter some of those different blocks and some of those different roadblocks that would get in the way, such as people networking only because they were born affluent or only because they were connected through their culture or their gender. It's kind of really backwards if you think about it. Even Trump himself, it's not about merit. Even during the campaign, a lot of his virtues, a lot of his morals and standards were exposed. And morals and standards and character have a lot to do with your merit, right? It almost just seems like that Trump is actually just pleasing his base. It was, you guys get me back in the presidential seat, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Because he could have got rid of this in 2016. Think about it. He could have got rid of this stuff in his last presidential term. But he didn't. And it's a reason why. Because he wasn't necessarily worried about it at that time. He thought he was going to run an 8-year presidency. It didn't work out the way he thought it would work out. And this time he is very, very, very much so gracious to his base and his supporters. And he's going to do exactly what they want him to do, which is get rid of some of these measures that they feel is taken away from their culture and their way of life. He's going to release the January 6th looters and rioters that took over the Capitol because it pleases the base. He's going to get rid of the flags, the LGBTQ flags and the Black Lives Matter flags. He's going to go after those political opponents who, rightfully so to some degree, went after him because there was true evidence of corruption during his presidency. And of course with Biden as well, I mean, let's not forget about that. So Biden had a lot of corruption. Letting your son off the hook while you have millions of Americans who are in prison for marijuana violations, those people are still in jail while your son is out walking around free. That's not fair either. We have Democrats and Republicans across the aisle who are doing the same thing. It's just sad because we are stuck in the middle as the citizens, right? That's really how you have to look at this. Is both sides of the aisle are playing like they're not establishment, and both of them are establishment. But I want you guys just to think about that. Take some time, ponder what DEI means to you, what it means to your family, and why it's not going to be there anymore, and how that's going to affect your life as well. Will it be in a positive way? Will it be in a negative way? Think about it. I want you to think about the fact that when your political party had the power and had the control, they dropped the ball in a very bad way. While Trump was playing chess, they were just moving pieces on the checkerboard. That's all I got for you tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And if you want to contact me, you can write me at clb.geneva@gmail.com. You can also go on Facebook under Club Geneva and actually join that page as well. But like and subscribe. I really want you to like and subscribe. So thank you for tuning in. I want you to have a lovely night. I'm signing off. Bye-bye.